the Spielberg version may not have been too far off, at least not from what a Connecticut police officer named Robert Klein saw back in April of 2022. Officer Klein is a married father of 4 and a 25-year law enforcement veteran in Lower Fairfield County, about 40 minutes north of New York City and about a par 5 from where I live. I am showing you a reenactment of what the officer saw, okay? So you can kind of see from his perspective this is a reenactment, though. I just want you to know that this guy is not a random nut job. He's an officer of the law. As a UFO spotter or anything else, he is what my business calls a highly reliable source. Did I mention he coaches football and basketball in his off hours? And on that particular April night, Officer Klein was barely into his overnight shift when he says his patrol car filled with light on a dark stretch of road that runs along a lake. Sounds a lot like what Richard Dreyfuss saw. You're watching this really well-done reenactment of his experience. The light was different from anything he'd ever seen before. It glowed like this, like red and green and white and orange, changed colors over and over, and it hovered over his car before flying, zipping across the lake in the blink of an eye, AKA not earthly speeds. That was a lot for him to take in. And beyond telling his partner and a couple of his buddies what he saw that night, he wasn't too keen on letting anyone else know. It was just a lot. It's a lot to process. And he hasn't gone public with his close encounter until tonight. Officer Klein joins me exclusively right now to share his story. And trust me, he brought the receipts, as in video of his own, not reenactment, his own. Also want to welcome back to the program Ben Hansen. Ben is the host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus and the first expert that Officer Klein reached out to. Ben, welcome back. And Officer Klein, thank you so much for being here. It's really good to see you. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Ashley, and happy Thanksgiving. You're right. I think people are going to be talking about this around the dinner table.
I think so. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you. Okay, Officer Klein, I'm going to start with you, and I'm just going to give you the floor. Take me through the experience. We've seen the reenactment, but I want to hear you tell me about it.
Sure. I had just started my midnight shift, which is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was approximately 40 minutes into the shift, and I was checking up north near the body of water, which is a reservoir. As I was about 250 feet in, all of a sudden, from my left rear, there was a really strong light. It lit up the entire cab of my cruiser to the point where I was having a hard time driving because I really couldn't see it. I was blinded by it. So I immediately put it into park, rolled down the window, and blocked the light with my hand because it was very intense to see where it was coming from and what exactly it was. At that point, the light started to move along the left side of the cruiser until it stopped right in front off to the left. As I looked up, that's when I saw this object. It was approximately 30 feet away from me. It was fairly close, and it was probably about the size of like a Mini Cooper, and it was a perfect sphere, and it almost looked like plasma moving constantly, and it was changing colors from red to green to white, and then it repeated the colors again. At this point, I was perplexed and confused at what I was looking at because I'd never, in 25 years working as a police officer, encountered anything like this. And when I came to, I took my spotlight and shined the light at it, and as soon as I hit it with my spotlight, it instantaneously moved across the body of water. And that's when I sort of snapped out of it and took out my camera and started recording and taking pictures.
Okay, well, that's a really good cue for our control room to start moving away from the reenactment and moving to your video, the video that you began shooting as you realized this thing just moved at warp speed. So this is, Officer Klein, your iPhone camera? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes.
And this is the point where it's already gone across the lake, right?
That's the end of it. There's a beginning part where you get a better view of it over the water.
So we may have to re-rack it, which we'll do. We're going to show this a couple of times, so I don't want our viewers to worry. But the interesting thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you took out your you've got like a handheld strobe. A lot of police officers have like a flashlight that can strobe. When you hit the UAP above you, that was straight above the cruiser with the strobe, that's when it blinked and instantly was across the lake. And if that's correct, how far did it go and how fast?
It was instantaneous. And when I mean instantaneous, it was in front of me, and then it wasn't. It was over the water. I couldn't see it go from A to B. That's how fast it moved. And at that point, I took out my camera to begin recording because I knew I had to get evidence of this.
Officer Klein, you're the guy I call if I see it. What was your instinct when you'd gone through? And of course, you're alone out there. What was your instinct? What did you want to do? What did you end up doing?
To be honest with you, I was trying to just process what I was looking at. I've been doing this job for 25 years. I've seen my fair share of drones, meteors, and everything else. And I knew that this was something that I've never come across. It wasn't a drone. I can guarantee you that. And it was something I still, to this day, I'm perplexed. And like I said, I was fairly close to this thing, 30 feet. I got a very close-up view of it, and I froze. I wasn't in fear. I just was really trying to understand what exactly I was looking at. And to this day, I'm just perplexed by it.
Officer, I know, I think I know what you were going through in terms of thinking through, what do I do with this information? Who do I tell? How big a deal do I make of it? Obviously, my life's been rattled, but, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. And this is, I think, what a lot of people go through when they witness these unexplained phenomena. So that's where, Ben, I'm going to get you to jump in, because ultimately he ended up reaching out to you. So, Ben, take it from there.
Yeah, so reached out to me through one of my websites, and he started telling me his story, and he said that he had video of it. And I have a team. A lot's happened in the past year, Ashley, since we've been talking. I put together a team of former intelligence analysts and law enforcement, and I can't do all this myself. So our team got to work, and we started interviewing him. He gave an amazing interview. And to have the video itself, I think, is icing on the cake. I think people need to understand, when you have a witness that comes that close, especially somebody who in law enforcement capacity, skeptics will try and look at the video and say, okay, well, this could be any number of things. We're lucky we even have video. But if you can't dismiss the beginning of the event, where unmistakably you have something the size of a car, which incidentally, if anyone is watching the hearings lately with they had mentioned a similar event on the West Coast with another police officer who described the object the size of a Prius. We've had these sightings. They're not quite uncommon, where people describe them as a mini sun, or something of nature, where they describe kind of like a plasma type exterior that changes colors, that pulsates. So imagine this being 30 feet from you, just like in Close Encounters, which was really one of my favorite movies. And it shines a light. And Robert told us the light was not kind of illuminating other objects and bouncing off of the nearby, road and rocks. It was strange because it was isolated just to his car, basically, and he couldn't figure out how that was happening. So the other thing I'll point out is that a lot of people, they wonder, why don't they take out their phone earlier? This is very, very common, where someone is so kind of like in a trance and blown away by what they're seeing, they don't think to record. And we're lucky that we got anything out of this. So it's a lot to unpack. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And in fact, so much that our team is going to be going out to Connecticut on the ground, because we've uncovered up to a half a dozen different witnesses, we believe, to the same phenomena.
So, Officer Klein, the sound on your video was fairly quiet, but do you recall any sounds or anything that might have been happening around you? Was there any movement? I mean, obviously, Richard Dreyfuss had mailboxes and railway crossings all rattling, but do you remember any other effect other than the light?
There was no movement. It gave off a low hum, which was very distinct. and nothing in none of the radio in the car, nothing was affected. It was just I heard a low hum, and the light was just like, very intense. Like I could feel it.
So, with that information, Ben, you and I have spoken in the last many months about the congressional hearings and the fact that Congress actually, put together the all-domain anomaly resolution office. And I think they even put I want to say like a call center, but it wasn't for the average Joe. It was supposed to be for military and government representatives who may have had these encounters. Well, that to me would be Officer Klein. He's a law enforcement officer with a remarkable experience. Would that be the kind of reporting that the Aero office would want to have?
I can't speak to Aero specifically, but I can say there have been reports such as this where agencies have been interested, especially because if you open the floodgates right now to all public reporting, it's going to be, quite an effort to keep. They're all going to think, that they're going to show up at their doorstep and take every report, and there's a lot of vetting that has to take place. So, in this particular instance, though, we not only have one seasoned law enforcement officer, we have an officer who responded to a police call. We at first thought it was a 911 call, but the town next to it, a witness was at a community center, and this happened just about 2 months prior. And at the community center, she was actually concerned, a little afraid to walk to her car because 2 or 3 of these large orbs, 2 or 3 of them were darting around in the sky and flew directly over her head. So this was prior to Officer Klein's sighting, and the officer who responded was able to see photos and the media on her phone and said she was blown away. And unfortunately, that media was lost when she reset her phone. But it's you have several law enforcement involved in this case. And definitely to answer your question, there are agencies who are doing their due diligence and would like to speak to them, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always willing to suspend disbelief, but also think through the potential, what we don't know. I mean, there's so much, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know if foreign countries have intelligence and, and tech that we simply can't imagine, meaning how quickly that light was able to move across the lake. But it sure didn't look natural, at least in terms of the way it was reproduced. Thank you to both of you. First of all, like Officer Klein, thank you for being public and talking about it. You're a good guy, and you're very believable. And I'm really appreciative that you're sharing this information. I think a lot of people aren't. And the more people talk about what they've seen, the more data points we can give to people like Ben. And Ben, thank you on this Thanksgiving for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure we'll be in touch. We'll be out on the field and might want to put a call out to people to come see us because we're looking for more witnesses.
100%. Well, I told you it was a par 5 from where I live, so I'm going to be on this. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to both of your families. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.